Greetings! Welcome to Avon Valley Church's Youth, Children and Families. It's story time. My name is Jan and Jeremy will help us with all the voices and Anne will play the voice of God. Now today's story comes from Tales from the Ark, a book by a lady called Avril Rowlands. And this is a skunk's tale. Now a skunk is a little black and white animal which can squirt out a very smelly, nasty spray when it needs to defend itself. So, let us begin. Here we go, the skunk's tale. Mr. Noah and his family and two of every insect, animal and bird began to settle into their new life inside the ark, while the rain flooded the earth. Mr. Noah was kept very busy each day, settling arguments, looking after sick animals, and generally trying to keep his little world as happy and content as possible. Each evening, he went round the ark to make sure that everyone was comfortable for the night. One evening, as he climbed to the second deck, he heard angry voices.
Animals like you shouldn't be allowed.
Oh, Mr. Noah hurried up the steps.
Disgraceful. Antisocial. Throw them overboard, I say.
Mr. Noah sniffed and then sniffed again, wrinkling his nose at the nasty, awful smell which drifted down the corridor. He saw a group of animals huddled together, and as their voices grew louder, the smell grew stronger.
Just who do you think you are, going round stinking the place out?
Bleated the goat.
This ark is becoming unfit for decent, self-respecting animals.
Said the emu primly.
And insects.
Added the ant.
And birds.
Said the vulture.
We vultures have very sensitive noses.
A burst of really awful smelly air made the animals fall back, and Mr. Noah could see two black and white spotted skunks with their backs to the wall. The emu, overcome by the smell, fell flat on the floor, right on top of the hedgehog.
Oh, the pain, the smell! Sorry, I'm sure,
said the hedgehog politely, struggling to get out from under her. The skunks said nothing. They stood on their front legs, bared their sharp teeth, and stamped up and down on the ground. Then they fell on all fours. They lifted their tails and squirted more horrible smell at the animals, who began to creep away. The goat trotted over to Mr. Noah.
Did you see that?
He asked.
Yes, said Mr. Noah, and smelt it. It's not right,
said the emu feebly.
It shouldn't be allowed.
The goose waved its long neck at Mr. Noah.
What are you going to do about it?
She asked.
I think,
said Mr. Noah,
we'd better have a talk.
They met a short time later in the big hall. All the animals were there, apart from the two skunks, and feelings ran high. The goat stopped Mr. Noah as soon as he entered.
That smell is making this place extremely unpleasant,
complained the goat.
I didn't know it was going to be like this,
said the snail,
or I shouldn't have come. Please, everyone,
said Mr. Noah,
can we solve this in a friendly way? We all have habits that others don't like, but we've got to get along together. Can't you learn to live with the smell? No,
said the fox bluntly.
In my opinion, for what it's worth,
said the camel in a slow, deliberate voice,
I think the skunk should be told in no uncertain terms that we are not prepared to tolerate their antisocial behaviour, and if they don't immediately cease fouling the air, we shall have no alternative but to remove them straight away from this floating edifice. What's he talking about?
asked the giraffe.
If they don't stop smelling, we'll throw them out,
said the fox bluntly. The lion then looked at Mr. Noah.
If you want my advice, speaking as your assistant, of course, Unless something is done very soon, there'll be a riot. Oh, very well,
said Mr. Noah.
I'll see what I can do.
Mr. Noah returned to the skunks, but as he approached, they stood up and they glared. Mr. Noah spoke very quickly.
Look, friends, I'm sorry to have to say this, but you've upset all the animals, to say nothing of the insects and birds, and they're not at all happy.
The skunks rose on their front legs. Mr. Noah, his own legs feeling weak and trembling, took a step backwards.
In the interest of good relations, you'll have to stop smelling the place out. Otherwise, we shall have to take stern action.
The skunk stamped vigorously on the floor, stared him straight in the face, and shot out another horrible smell. Mr. Noah fell to the ground. He banged his head with such force he was knocked unconscious. He came round to find himself in his cabin. He felt his sore head gently.
What should I do, God?
Asked Mr. Noah.
You could try talking to them.
Said God.
I've just tried,
Said Mr. Noah indignantly.
and look where it got me.
You didn't talk to them, you talked at them.
Said God patiently.
You talk to them then.
Mr. Noah said gruffly.
They might listen to you. At least you won't end up with a sore head.
Oh.
There's no laughing matter.
Said Mr. Noah severely.
I've a crisis on my hands and you're supposed to help.
He really was feeling rather ill, otherwise he wouldn't have spoken to God like that.
I am helping, Noah.
God said gently.
I'm giving you advice. Talk to the skunks and find out what is wrong.
But Mr. Noah did not want to take God's advice. He sent for the lion and the tiger.
Lion
He said in a weak voice.
and Tiger, my assistants. You know I'm laid up here with a broken head and so I can't do anything about the smell, but something must be done. The animals are very angry.
Said the lion.
They might even take matters into their own hands. You mean?
Oh, said Noah.
Wring their smelly necks.
Said the tiger. Mr. Noah was shocked.
Lion, Tiger, could you talk to the skunks on my behalf? No.
Said the tiger bluntly.
Oh, they'd listen to you.
Pleaded Mr. Noah.
You're animals just like they are. But you have the authority.
Said the lion gently.
Authority from God. Far be it from me, a mere lion, to take over that authority.
He looked at Mr. Noah and opened his eyes wide.
Who knows where it could end? Why, the animals might even want me, or us,
He added hastily as the tiger growled.
to take over command here. Oh, yes.
Said Mr. Noah.
Well, of course, I fully intend to deal with this situation just as soon as I've recovered.
The lion smiled sweetly.
I wouldn't leave it too long.
He said, and he and the tiger left. Mr. Noah then sent for his eldest son.
Shem,
He said.
I've an important job for you. Yes, Father. I want you to try and find out why the skunks give off that terrible smell and persuade them, if you can, to stop.
Shem turned pale.
Me, Father? Yes, you. Very well, Father.
Shem went out of the cabin but returned after only a few moments, looking dazed and sick.
I did try, Father, really I did, but I just couldn't get near them. All right,
Said Mr. Noah testily.
send Ham to me.
Ham was the name of his second son, and when Ham came, Mr. Noah gave him the same instructions. Ham turned green.
Me, Father? You want me to go? Yes,
Said Mr. Noah.
but I suffer from seasickness. That smell will make me very, very ill. Just do as I say.
Said Mr. Noah. So Ham went out of the cabin, but he was back even faster than his brother.
Sorry, Dad. You didn't even try.
Grumbled Mr. Noah.
Send Japheth to me. He's a good, obedient lad.
Japheth was the third son. But Japheth was so frightened at the thought of having to deal with the skunks that he sent a note saying he was too unwell even to leave his cabin. Mr. Noah lay back in bed.
Noah,
It was God.
Noah, I did not save you and your family from the flood, or put you in charge of all the animals, insects and birds left in the world for you to disobey me.
Me, Lord?
Said Noah.
Yes, I told you to talk to the skunks, not the lions or the tigers or your sons.
Oh, I just thought I was dealing with the matter as best I could,
Said Mr. Noah weakly.
while I'm not well.
You thought nothing of the sort.
Said God.
Come on, Noah, get up.
You're not angry with me?
Mr. Noah asked anxiously.
No,
Said God.
just a little sad.
Mr. Noah felt ashamed.
I'm sorry, God.
He said. He got up and dressed and went to see the skunks. The smell by now was frightful, and Mr. Noah held his breath as he climbed the steps. The skunks were in their usual place, surrounded at a safe distance by a circle of threatening animals.
Going to throw them overboard?
Asked the fox.
Just give me a minute with them.
Said Mr. Noah.
Alone?
The animals were surprised, but did as he said and moved away. Mr. Noah held out his hand.
Come.
Noah said.
I'm not going to threaten or harm you.
The skunks rose to their feet, and Mr. Noah swallowed nervously.
I just want you to tell me why you are making such a smell.
He said in a quavering voice. One of the skunks stamped.
Please.
Said Mr. Noah.
I'm sorry if I frightened you, because I was just scared. I'm scared now. Scared?
Said one of the skunks.
You? That's a laugh.
The other skunk hissed.
Shut up, you fool. It's all a plot.
She turned to Mr. Noah and squirted the foul smell at him, but Mr. Noah ducked and missed its full force.
I don't care what you do.
He said, feeling quite sick.
I don't care if you knock me unconscious again. I only want to help you.
The skunk got ready to squirt Mr. Noah again, but the first one stopped her.
Hold on a minute.
He turned to Mr. Noah.
You want to know why we make this smell, right? Right.
Said Mr. Noah.
Wouldn't you make a smell if you were scared witless?
The skunk said bluntly.
But why are you scared?
Asked Mr. Noah.
Wouldn't you be if you were threatened by a load of animals, most of them bigger than you? Why did they threaten you? It was that goose started it,
Said the other skunk sulkily.
flapping around, accusing us of pushing her, and then it went from bad to worse, with all of them shouting and saying they'd do all sorts of horrible things to us. No wonder we smelt. We were scared, see? When we're scared, we give off a smell.
Explained the first skunk.
Works wonderfully, most times. I see.
Said Mr. Noah.
Well, look, God put me in charge here, although I don't know why, because I'm not making a very good job of it. If I told you that you've got nothing at all to be frightened about, would you believe me? So long as the rest of the animals stop scaring us.
Said the skunk.
Come with me, said Mr. Noah.
He led the skunks to the big hall, and they stood rather uncomfortably beside him while he explained to the animals, the insects and birds that the skunks had only given off the smell because they had been frightened. After some discussion, the animals agreed not to frighten the skunks anymore, so long as the skunks stopped smelling. In fact, some of the smaller animals who knew what it was like to feel scared went out of their way to make the skunks feel safe and at home. So the skunks became part of the family of the Ark, and the little world of the Ark floated on and on. The end. Goodbye everyone, I hope you enjoy that charming story.